Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Jane's Fighters Anthology. We'll be picking up from where we left off last time. Take a quick look at the service record. And let's continue. Line in the Sky, USS K-Hawk, CVA 63. Date, July 30th. Local time, 1300 hours. Weather, cloud cover. Situation. On June 26, the U.S. established a 25-mile-wide buffer zone along Vietnam's border with China. Mission objective: lead a strike on harbor facilities near Hong Gai. You must take special care not to violate the buffer zone or risk calling up Chinese interceptors. Order of battle: recommended aircraft F-4J, recommended weapons Mark 84s, AIM-9Bs, threat suppression data, ground opposition SA-2s, KS-19s, and KS-12s, air opposition MiG-21s, and MiG-17s. We have 2 wingmen, and we've been promoted to expert. We'll probably need both wingmen. Other AI forces are good. We have AWACS support, and I believe this is the border with China that we have to avoid. Although this game doesn't really have much in the way of custom AI scripting, assuming they use the same editor that's provided with the game and built into it, which I think they do. So what'll probably end up what normally ends up happening is those MiGs make their way over and you end up having to deal with them anyways. Take our standard heavy air-to-ground loadout. We'll fly. We see we're being pinged right away. So afterburners it is. We can't dogfight with all these bombs on us, so all we can do is try to outrun. The F-8s have us on their radar. It looks like they're going to try to intercept. Here's the docks we gotta hit. We're going to switch our radar to 5 nautical miles because that's more than likely what we'll be working with. And our best shot, I think, is we're going to come in as close as we can, perpendicular to the docks. We won't be completely perpendicular because we do have the A7s coming in, and those guys are probably going to get up close and personal with the AAA surrounding it, and I don't want them caught in the blast of our bombs. So we're going to come in as close, probably around 60 or 70 degrees. We'll do one run. We'll try to release all the bombs we can, and then if those MiGs are still pursuing us, we will turn around and engage them, since we'll be light enough to do so, while we direct our wingmen to continue attacking the ships. Hopefully, by the time we're done dealing with the MiGs and they're done dealing with the ships, we can group up and go after any ground targets that are left. That's the plan anyways. Okay, we're passing the F-8s now. We'll see if they are able to provide us with a lot of help or not. I don't see the MiGs pinging us anymore, so we're gonna roll in. Oh, there they are. And we have SAM-site tracking us. There's the AAA exploding around us. I think we're coming out of the fog. And we are indeed target a ship, so we can quickly hand off to our wingman. We're going to try to do this one by the numbers. Let's take out that AAA. And that clears us up for a fight against the MiGs. And the A7s are coming in now. But we have our eyes on this MiG. And it looks like neither of our Sidewinders actually hit him. Unfortunate, but our cannon dealt with him in short enough order. So if we're lucky, we can dive and... There is a MiG on us that we cannot see. Damn, he's on us good. We could almost make him out through the fog. So now, bombs or no bombs, we need our wingmen to help distract that MiG. Woo! That was close. Well, we got his attention. He's gunning for us now. And he's less than a mile away. So this is going to be another close pass. We just have terrible luck with our Sidewinders today. Oh my god. That's ours. I sincerely hope those are the F8s. Nope. But we got a lock on him now. Okay, let's disengage and reform. I think that was the last of the MiGs. So let's see what we have left to destroy. That cargo ship is not a mission objective. We'll take out the AAA real quick. Our damage is minimal, thankfully. And that should be the last of the AAA. We'll have our wingmen attack that cargo ship. Actually, we'll just have them attack all the ships, because it looks like they didn't do much. So, in the meantime, we're going to stay clear of our wingmen's bombs. And now these boys here are also mission objectives, so let's those three are gone. So we can at least take out the ground facilities that they aren't focusing as much on.
Contact, ship, you're 12 o'clock, 1 mile.
Let's see how many ships. It looks like if they manage to get one bomb on those ships, it looks like that will be enough to finish off the ships. Meanwhile, as far as dockhouses go, we almost destroyed that one in our strafing run, so let's double back. It looks like our wingman is making another pass. Yeah, he only got one of the ships. That's another dock house for us. No,
Bombs away.
he's making another pass in the ships. Well, he got the dock. Looks like the A7s are attacking the ships as well. So that definitely helps us. Maybe we could have followed Doctrine and dropped our bombs after all. I doubt it, but I don't know if they'll do all the work by themselves. But certainly, together we should be able to eliminate all of them.
3 miles.
So we'll take on the next dock house then. It doesn't look like anyone's making an immediate run over the ships. So we'll line up. Let's check our fuel levels. They should be good. We were using a lot of fuel. We gotta hurry because it looks like our wingmen are setting up for more passes. Let's see. There. We almost got one of them destroyed. And our engine is quiet apparently. That's just a bug in this game. The engine, various sounds will just drop out. See, now we have an engine again. So they got another cargo ship. I think there's one cargo ship left then, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, I could be mistaken. Looks like the A7s are coming in for their pass. So we're gonna fly out right through them. And with that, we'll have our wingman attack structures.
Contact. Structure. Your 6 o'clock flow. 2 miles.
Yeah, all I see is the docks, so I think we got all the ships. And we see our wingmen are lining up. They should hopefully have a couple bombs left.
Bombs
And
away.
we only need one to finish this. Well, let's take out the other dock just to be thorough.
Engaging.
And then I think we'll call it a mission. We'll do our part. In fact, well, disengage. I think we can take this last one out with just our gun because magic bullets. I think it would take a lot more 20mm ammunition to destroy a dock, but then again, I've never shot 20mm rounds into a dock before, so I guess I wouldn't know. So that was an overall successful mission. We didn't obey our doctrine and drop our bombs at the first sign of trouble, but we made it through alright, and with minimal damage. Only 12% from one of the MiGs getting a glancing blow on us. And there's the dock. I believe... Oops. I believe that should have been the last... Oh, nope, we have one more.
Attack structure. Your 5 o'clock flow. Engaging.
And it's gone.
Disengage.
So, we will go home now.
Waypoint Charlie.
Now,
58, climb
something we can talk about
contact.
is for
7 o'clock flow.
those of you who have been around long enough to have read the news when the Kitty Hawk was in service, which is the carrier we've been based off for these Vietnam missions. Some of you may have noticed that in news articles talking about it, it was referred to as CV-63. Yet in the game, they refer to it as CVA-63. And some of you may be wondering, what's that discrepancy? Well, the U.S. Navy kind of went back and forth a little bit on carrier designation conventions. Back in World War II, when carriers were still in their infancy, you had basically three types of carriers. You had the CVs, which were your standard conventional carrier, your fleet carriers, and those were generally the core of your carrier fleet. You also had CVLs, which were light cruisers, which were similar to CV type, light carriers. They were similar to the fleet carriers, the CVs, but the difference was that in the U.S.'s case, at least, most of them were built off of cruiser hulls, and the main difference was they had the same speed as fleet carriers, but they were smaller and had less aircraft capacity. So whereas a fleet carrier might carry 90 aircraft, you might only see 45 to 60 on a light carrier. And light carriers weren't too common. Most of them were conversions, and that was basically designed so that they could fill the immediate need for carriers early in the war when the Japanese were kicking our butts. And they weren't used too much by other nations. I think the British and Japanese probably toyed with a couple of them, but generally they weren't used too often. And then you have the CVE, which was an escort carrier. And what this was a carrier sometimes converted from a civilian cargo or cruise ship, but other times was purpose-built with a relatively small aircraft capacity. They're actually known as Jeep carriers or baby flat tops, so I think their capacity was generally between 30 and 45 aircraft. And these carriers were primarily used to escort convoys. The aircraft would help provide protection from any surface threats, air threats, or subsurface threats. Towards the end of the war, aircraft were actually really good at ferreting out German U-boats that were looking to attack, because they would be able to spot the periscope from on high and then drop in with bombs and cannon fire. They're also used to, oftentimes when the Navy would take an island, they'd hit it with their fast carrier task force first, which was mostly comprised of CVs and CVLs. And once any enemy defenses had been softened up and troops were landed, they would move on to the next major engagement with the Japanese Navy or the next island, while the U.S. would position escort carriers to provide close air support for troops still engaged in battle on the island. That's actually kind of how the Battle of, was it Taffy 13, I think? It was a very famous battle that was part of the Battle of the Philippine Seas? No, that doesn't sound right. Lake Gulf. I think it was the Battle of Lake Gulf. I could be mistaken on that, but basically what happened was Halsey, who is one of the most famous admirals at the time and was basically the commanding admiral at the beginning of the war, was decoyed away by a Japanese carrier task force, which by that point in the war was nothing but an empty hulk, basically, since they didn't have the air crew to actually fly strikes from the carriers. So he took his fast carrier task force to engage that, which left the landing force open to a second Japanese strike. This one was conducted by their surface warships, which have fared better than their carriers in the war up until that point. And the battleships actually managed to close in on the escort carrier force that was left behind to provide close air support for the troops on the island. And all that was standing between, all those troop transports and, tens of thousands of troops were a couple of escort carriers, destroyers, and escort destroyers, which in today's parlance would probably be called a frigate. And they actually managed to defend. They put up such a stubborn defense that the Japanese were convinced that it was the main American carrier task force, and they withdrew. And Halsey was appropriately chewed out for leaving his forces out to dry like that while he went off to chase carriers. But I digress from the original point. So after World War II, the Essex class carriers, especially post-Korea, became too small to be the multi-role ships they once were. So they were divided into 3 new classes.
Lower.
You had the
4 miles.
CVA, or attack carrier, and they would hold primarily jet aircraft for conducting attacks on surface targets. So you'd see like A4s and A7s operating from them. You had CVS, which was basically supposed to fill the role of the old escort carriers. They held anti-submarine warfare aircraft, like the S2 Tracker, and then they would also carry SH-3 Seahawks to provide anti-submarine protection to convoys or task forces or whatever. And then you have a couple became CVH or helicopter carriers, and these were basically became the these basically became the predecessor of today's modern amphibious assault ships. So there's a little touch and go on our carrier there. Just a little bit too fast, so let's try 28% throttle once we get lined back up. And those became the dominant carrier designations. You had also CVA was also applied to carriers like the Forrestal and Kitty Hawk classes, although they were actually capable of supporting a multi-role air wing. And then you also had the Enterprise, which at the time was CVAN-65, indicating it was a nuclear-powered attack carrier. But then at some point, the Navy decided to go back and simplify their designations. So you had CVA, CVS, and CVH all kind of became just CV for conventional carrier, and then you had CVN for nuclear carrier.
Lower. 1 mile. Lower. Higher. On the ball. Lower.
What? Our landing was amazing. Well, you know what? I disagree with your landing grade. Oh, fuck. So, doing something that's completely against reason. We are taking off and trying our landing again. We'll order our wingmen to bug out. We gotta be careful because our airspeed isn't up too high. And let's break protocol and do that again. I'm curious to see if that'll actually override our score or not. We do have plenty of fuel. So now we just gotta be careful that our wingman gets in there before us. There he is. And so let's turn in. We should be enough time for him to get out of the way with as far in as we're coming. Let's set the throttle to, let's try 23. Still trying to play with the settings. So yeah, so anyways, the Navy went back kind of to their original designations and stopped adding a role designation to all their carriers. So now we have just CV and CVN, or really just CVN, now that all of our carriers are nuclear powered forever and ever.
Call the ball. Go left. 4 miles. Go left. Go left. Go left.
Okay, so
Lower.
he's
Lower. mile. On the ball. Higher.
Try to get a good descent rate here.
Steady. Clear to land.
I think we're still coming in a little too fast.
Wind at
Let's hope our
205.
wingman gets out of the way quickly.
Too much bank. Steady.
Let's add a little bit of throttle.
Higher.
We've let off a little too much speed.
Higher. 1 mile. Higher. 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 Lower.
Geez, nothing's ever good enough for you. Well, let's try that again. One more time. Because we want to be safe. By making... I wonder if we can trigger the catapult again. That would be great. I don't think so. Woo! Almost trashed the mission there. What happened is it was starting to take the joystick input for the camera and remove it from the flight input, so yeah, scary. So let's try this one more time. If we don't get it this time, we'll just give up and we'll accept our 0% rating that we deserve. So another thing that I didn't mention on the loadout screen is, now normally aircraft can, depending on the aircraft and the weapon involved, you can mount more than one weapon to a hard point. For example, you might have seen aircraft bombing the Islamic State may have had, 3 bombs attached to one hard point. And this game generally does not model that option. You're like, they group hard points into these groups, as you see on the weapon selection screen. And then you're basically stuck with assigning one weapon for each group. You can unload individual weapons, but you can't have like a mix of weapons, and you can't have more than one weapon per hard point. And that will change somewhat when we get to the ATF campaign. What you'll see is they introduce 3, 6, and 7 bomb packs, I guess you could call them. And what these will do is you're going to fire 3 bombs at once, so you're basically, tripling or hextupling, I guess would be your firepower for the bombs that you launch. And it'll be really great when we have to, like in this mission it would have been great because those ships would have been out a lot faster. Although granted, it's only for the 500-pound bombs, but better than nothing.
Slower. Call the ball.
Okay.
Lower. On the ball.
And there we go, fair landing. Not the amazing landing I was hoping for, but I think we've got the basics down. Now all we gotta do is just get our descent rate right, which that'll take a little more playing with, but we can do it. And we're just going to park. Oh, we got enough room to turn around, maybe. We just gotta be careful because it's an instant kill for us if we hit the hitbox of that cat. And as you may have noticed during air combat, everyone's got really big hitboxes in this game. And okay, we aren't aligned very well, but we made it. And let's see what our landing grade is now. Debrief, USS Kitty Hawk, CVA-63, date July 30th. Mission, line in the sky. Resolution, success. Great work smashing the harbor facilities. Destroyed the 13 targets. Mission outcome, success. We took some damage. Oh, okay, so I'm guessing it took only that first landing grade since we're only 16%, whereas our wingman had 42%, so even they were below average. We had 2 fire kills, our wingman had 1. We took out the 3 AAAs that were guarding the dockyards. We took out 2 trucks, they took out 3. They took out 3 ships and we took out none, apparently. That's a little disappointing. And we took out 10 of those dock houses and docks and they took out 3. So, pretty good. All of our sidewinders missed that we fired. That was disappointing. Our only damage was from that MiG that was pretty tight on our tail for a while. We only took some minor bullet damage to the frame, so that's easy to repair. And that's all for this episode. Next time we'll be doing a combat air patrol for a search and rescue operation. So we'll see you then.